The Benin expedition. The year is 1897 and the Benin kingdom, like a coveted maiden, is gaining the attention of European superpowers and colonialists. Although Benin had made contact with Portuguese in the earlier centuries, it was still unscathed and an independent kingdom in late 1800s. Why was the Benin kingdom gaining attention, one would ask? Well, to understand why, we have to go back to the Berlin Conference of 5th November 1884 and 26 February 1885. Which catalyzed the scramble for Africa by European nations. Africa offered a new ground for exploitation of cheap raw materials ready to be sold to Europe at profitable price. Because the scramble caused skirmishes and clashes among European nations, the Berlin Conference was aimed at making a gentleman agreement. Prior to that, the continent had no real maps or demarcation as it's seen today. Almost a decade later, the continent will be further divided along colonial boundaries. These imagined boundaries ultimately meant one thing for the Benin kingdom: an inevitable showdown with the scrambling Europeans looking for ivory and raw materials which the kingdom controlled and possessed. Furthermore, because the kingdom served as a major gateway towards the inland areas in the countryside, its sovereignty was impossible to ignore. It is worth noting that while Britain had significant presence in the coastal regions with trades and business activities taking place with chiefs from neighboring areas, they became more particularly interested in Benin after the Berlin Conference. The Benin Massacre. It is the year 1896 and Oba Ovonramwen Nogoibasi is the king. He was the 35th king of the kingdom, whose reign began in 1888. Born around 1857, Oba Overami was fabulously rich. According to Boyce-Ragon, the king was supposed to be very rich in ivory as he possessed or received tucks from every elephant shot in his dominion, which is taxed in his possession or his palace. In November 1896, a year before the event, James Robert Phillips, the acting consul general of the Niger Coast Protectorate, felt that he had gained a very clear picture of the state of affairs, decided to embark on a mission to the Benin Kingdom. He wrote a letter to the Foreign Office in London seeking permission and stating that the King of Benin has continued to do everything in his power to stop the people from trading and prevent the government from opening up the country. He continued by saying, "I therefore ask for His Lordship permission to visit the Benin city in February next year to depose and remove the King of Benin, and to establish a native council in his place, and to take such further steps for the opening of the country as the occasion may require. I do not anticipate any serious resistance from the people of the country. There is every reason to believe that they would be glad to get rid of their king," Philip wrote. It is reported that Phillips had sent a message to the Oba saying that the present mission was to discuss trade and peace and demanding admission to the territory. Ahead of Philip's journey, he had sent an envoy bearing numerous gifts for trade. It was during this time that the Oba was celebrating the Igwe festival, and he sent word that he did not wish to see the British at the time and he would send a word in a month or two when he was ready to receive just Phillips and one Jakiri chief. Despite repeated warnings to discontinue his planned journey, Philip continued his journey towards Benin. Sensing this, the Oba's general deduced this as an intrusion to Benin's sovereignty that amounted to war. On 4 January 1897, Phillips and his entire party were ambushed along their journey to Benin City at Obain village near Guatu, with the ambush leading to the death of Philip himself, except for 2 Britons who survived their wounds. They were Captain Alan Boyce-Ragon and Ralph Locke. Captain Alan Maxwell Boyce-Ragon was commandant of the constabulary of the Niger Coast Protectorate, who had been shot in the right arm and knee, and Ralph Locke, District Commissioner of Warri, who had been shot 4 times in the arm and once in the hip. Within the week, news had made it to London of the ambush. As a result of this attack, the Foreign Office authorized a military action leading to the punitive expedition. The expedition was aimed to serve as a lesson to the kings, chiefs, and juju men of all surrounding countries that white men cannot be killed with impunity, and that human sacrifices with the oppression of the weak and poor must cease. This was the reason given for the military actions, the London office wrote. On 12 January 1897, Rear Admiral Harry Rawson was appointed to command the Benin expedition, and between 9 to 22nd February, he led the Benin expedition, invasion force of about 1,200 British squadron comprising of Royal Marines, sailors, and over 5,000 Coast Protectorate forces. Sensing a reprisal, over 100 men evacuated Benin City and neighboring countryside and towns to minimize civilian casualties in the pending British invasion. By February 1897, Benin City was captured by the expedition. The city was set ablaze with monuments and ivory plundered on a large scale. It is reported that when Oba gave himself up on August 7, 1897, the king was simply covered with masses of strings of coral interspersed with larger pieces supposed to be worth many pounds. Most of the king's possessions were either seized by Mr. Moore or stolen by opportunists. Obaramwe was exiled to Calabar with two of his wives, where he received and was hosted in Calabar in a small town called Essien Town by Etin Essien Etim Omfong, the progenitor of Essien Town. He died in Calabar around the turn of the new year in 1914. Obaramwe was eventually buried in the grounds of the Royal Palace in Benin City. He was succeeded by his first son, the legitimate heir Prince Agugba Simwin, who ruled as Eweka II. Today, the Benin monument is littered around the world, especially in the British Museum. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful piece of Nigerian history. Stay tuned with me for more of this. Thank you.